that jacket in the background?
That is a paintball jersey as a great reminder for me when I was doing paintball coaching for my youngest son, and we traveled all over the world playing this sport nobody knows is a real sport.
Awesome.
So it always brings a smile to my face. That's why I put it there.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's good times.
I'm just wondering if we should mention that.
I think we just did.
I think we just did. Yeah, as a matter of fact. All right, so would you please introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Craig Lack.
And what do you do for a living, Craig Lack?
I have a great identity. I have a dual identity. I am a retail healthcare consultant, and I'm also a wholesaler. And so my new identity is primarily focused on being a wholesaler. And all that means is I am the broker's broker.
We met at a very high-level Dan Kennedy event, and then you came to Celebrity Launchpad a few months later.
I did.
And what was that all about? Why would you?
You know, we talked a little earlier about my experience being a paintball coach and traveling all over the world with my youngest son. And my oldest son was an Eagle Scout. So before that, I was in Scouts and I was a Scout leader. I did all that thing. So I mastered how to have the lifestyle business in my industry. And so what happened was 2010, I told my youngest son, hey, I'm retiring. I got to pay attention to my business because it's just been kind of running on like clockwork for all these years. So, you know, the economy was hitting my business, and I noticed, hey, I had a down year for the first time in 10 years, so I better start paying attention to this. And so, long story short, I realized I needed to reinvent myself. I had spent so many years being comfortable managing my lifestyle because my only priority was autonomy. I had to have autonomy so I could do cool stuff with my sons. I was blessed, I was lucky I was able to do that, but you fast forward to 2012, and at the end of 2012, I realized, holy crap. I've got to completely change the way I do business, which means I've got to reinvent myself. So I decided, I put a big sign in my room and I said, comfort kills achievement. And I've been comfortable so long that I had to figure out how to achieve new goals again. So I decided I was going to sign up for every single thing that made me uncomfortable. Yeah, and public speaking made me uncomfortable. And I met you at Dan Kennedy, and we were out in the hallway, and we struck up a conversation. And the next thing I knew, I was headed to Hollywood.
Yeah, man. Well, you did some public speaking, didn't you?
I did. So I signed up. I've done, conferences, and I've done dozens of radio interviews. I signed up for everything to make me uncomfortable because what I learned was, you know what? Change and uncertainty, that equals freedom. That's what I preach.
You practice what you preach, that's for sure. You came here to Celebrity Launchpad and there was a whole bunch of rehearsing, which really is much more than rehearsing. You're actually pitching to producers. That's the rehearsing, the meat and potatoes of our rehearsing. What did you think of that whole process?
It taught me a valuable lesson because I had never done that before. And what I learned was you've got to know your material cold because your situation is like the ideal situation. You get to pitch it. You just held our hands. You coached us so well. You gave us the formula. The producers were on Skype. It was fantastic. And they just let us do our thing. So all you had to do was just kind of roll it out, right? Just don't screw it up, right? And so you kind of droned that into us. You taught us some really good rules. And after that, you learned, as soon as you did your first interview, everything's different every single time. Your rules still apply. Do whatever the producer says, just say yes. But you really had to rehearse. And then once you did, you could adapt on the fly.
How many appearances have you done, Craig?
I did 6.
What was your favorite part of going on TV?
It was kind of like my favorite part when we first started and I did my first pitch. And after the pitch was over, you videotaped us. And when it was done, I had this big smile on my face. And then when we came back later and you critiqued everybody and you showed them their own video and you said to me, there, that's the smile I want you to have before it's over. Look at that big smile Craig had because now it's over, right? And so I was like, oh, God, what a relief because it was new. And so after I did it, it was like, okay, in my mind, the way I process it was, oh, this is just like exercise. The more you do it, the easier it gets. And so I just looked at it that way like a game. And so I rehearsed before I went to see anybody. And so by the time the game started, I could adapt on the fly because every time the game's different. I mean, my favorite story was the first one I show up for. I think I was in Vegas. it's like 6:15 in the morning. You walk in the studio. The guy's doing his live interview. It goes to commercial, and he looks at me and he goes, "Who are you and what are you here to talk about?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm the Obamacare expert." He goes, "Okay, cool. You got a minute 45." And I'm like, "A minute 45? No problem. 28,000 pages in Obamacare, minute 45 done." He started laughing. We developed a relationship. I ended up getting about 2.5 minutes. It was really fun.
That's a classic example of the way it goes. If you do well, they generally let you keep going.
Yeah. He's got a little bug in his ear, and I don't know what they're telling him.
So how have you used TV publicity and your celebrity that you've created from it to enhance your B2B activities?
Well, my B2B activities are pretty significant because I deal with the second largest budget item on every corporation in America, and that's their employee benefits, their healthcare budget. So if anybody's been living under a rock for 5 years, it's that Obamacare thing, right? Every company's got to deal with it. So as the consultant, I decided on the retail side, I'm in the state of California, and healthcare, unknown to your audience, but healthcare is different in every state, and it can be different between the north of the state and the south of the state. So it's very fluid. And so what I learned was, as being the broker's broker, I needed to be able to differentiate and interrupt the broker's pattern really quick, because typically people who've been in any industry, they think they already know everything. They're skeptical, and the business out there is very noisy. So you got to be able to differentiate, and you got to be able to do it quickly. So the media for me has been an instant differentiation. When you go to my website at craiglack.com, it's pretty easy to identify, well, this is somebody whose message is very different, whose positioning is very different, who has an authority position in an industry where no one does. The perception is it's all the same. We're all in the same box. We're all framed by the same commodity trap. And that exists in many industries. And so people have to figure out what's the fastest way to cut through the BS and become relevant so that the people's ears open up a little bit better.
So this is an overall strategy of yours to differentiate yourself from competing people.
Right. There's a lot of people who quote wholesale in my industry and try to work through brokers. And there's a kind of a conditioned, patterned way that you do it. And I don't like to do anything the normal way.
Can you share with us any specific story about how this has worked to your advantage?
I got a great story. So a broker buddy of mine in Maryland refers me to a prospect that he's working on in South Dakota. So he calls me up. I talk to this woman. She calls me. We talk 3 times. It turns out she's the business development executive for a very large insurance agency operating in 6 states with well over 600 corporate clients, right in my sweet spot. Mm-hmm. So, long story short, she presents to the executive board, and all they did was they went to my website, craiglack.com, and they went down and they went, yeah, we want to meet that guy. I didn't have to talk to anybody. She didn't have, she didn't really have to do much work to get me in front of him. I flew to Nebraska. I did a presentation to about 35 people. 1 meeting, 70 minutes. They signed my contract. In order to get the opportunity to make your presentation, you've got to sell them on why the hell you're relevant. Why do I need to listen to you? All right? I mean, they pretty much in any industry, these people who are already experienced, they think that they've got the business wired, and you're coming, oh, great, another new idea. Yeah, sure. So you need the consistency of the positioning on why it's different. Well, what I learned after doing your program is not too many people do television. They really don't. Nobody in my industry does.
That's awesome.
Yeah. These are multi-million dollar deals. So these companies they're spending anywhere from $5 million to $50 million a year. So this is a multi-million dollar pitch that these consultants are using, and I'm just piggybacking on giving them tools that will make them more valuable to their clients. And the way to do it, cut right through it, is, hey, when they go to my media page, there's no make-believe. There's no, the big game today seems to be like as seen on, as seen in, right? Well, but then you go to the web, and it's like, well, how are they seen in or seen on? There's nothing on their page, right? Well, there it is. ABC, CBS, Fox, the CW. It makes it real. That's right through the clutter.
I personally believe that when you don't have the video clips to go along with the ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox logos that you're displaying on your media page or on your website, you're just creating more questions in the minds of the prospects and customers that you don't want to create. Like, where are the video clips? Is this person for real, or is this person just creating stories for me? Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah. Oh, you had a PR that got picked up. Big whoopee. It doesn't matter what you say on television. The fact is you were on television. And that owns a really big space in people's brains because nobody understands, well, I mean, that should be impossible. That person must be an expert to be on television. So, you know, it lets people come up with a lot of thoughts in their own mind as to the value of that. And so the more valuable in the prospect's mind, you've just positioned yourself above everybody else.
Is it safe to say that your TV celebrity has contributed to signing 7-figure deals for your company and for your business?
You can draw a direct line between appearing on television and doing 7-figure deals in my industry. Absolutely.
$5.
Oh my gosh.
But thank you, though.
There's something about you that just sucks that out of me. I could have built a church by now or something.
That's an inside joke, folks. I don't like the word absolutely. I think it's a virus on TV. So when you do come to Celebrity Launchpad, if you say the word absolutely, you pay $5 into the a-hole. Okay, we have a fishbowl. It's called the a-hole. You put $5 in the a-hole.
It was a little fishbowl before I got there. Now it's like a tureen.
Anything you want to say to the people who are considering coming to Celebrity Launchpad before we sign off?
Absolutely. You almost got me again. If you're thinking about it, you're hesitating, if you're having conversations in your head, there's your sign. You need to do it. Change and uncertainty will equal your freedom. Stop being comfortable because you'll never achieve anything. Jump in with both feet. Clint knows exactly what he's doing. He delivers 100% on what he promises you. Very few people can do that in this industry. Thank you, Clint.
Thank you very much. One last question. When you presented to those 35 people, did you feel a different level of comfort and ease in your presentation and your ability to speak in public as a result of all the TV appearances that you did? Did that impact your performance at all?
I would say yes, from the standpoint of I learned that you have to rehearse. You've got to rehearse because if I'm doing a meeting in front of 35 people, I get questions from people. They're all over the board. At least in the context of the TV news interview, they're going to be related to what you're there to talk about. So you learn very quickly that planning is great, but you got to be able to dance. And so if you know your material, they're going to ask you an obtuse question. You're going to bring it right back, like Clint says, go right back onto your script and tell your story. So yes, it was very helpful for me. And every time you do it, it gets easier and easier and easier.
All right, folks, if you're interested in replicating or approaching Craig's results for your business, for your solopreneur career, your entrepreneurial career, your corporate sales, B2B, whatever the case may be, check out GuaranteedCelebrity.com. That's guaranteed with a D, celebrity.com, because I am looking forward to seeing you on television.